Hello, book lovers and English learners. Welcome back to a new video of a new episode of the podcast Read in English. It's been a while, and I'm very happy to be back again in the podcast. I had a little summer break, and I hope that you had a very nice one too. It's nice to do a little break sometimes and come back fresh with new ideas and a lot of things happening in the book club. I'm very happy about a new project of book club trip to England next year. Next year, yes, I'm planning with a travel agency, a book, a trip, a book club trip to England. And if you're interested in this trip, then you just subscribe to the newsletter to get notified about the program and everything that will be happening during this trip. It's going to be a sort of a literary trip around Jane Austen, all the different places where either she lived or she mentioned in her books. So I really look forward to prepare this new sort of evolution of the book club, and also have this experience to be able to meet you as well. And also that the book club members will be able to meet as well. So that's also something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and it's happening next year. So more information will be coming soon. I'm finalizing the program of the trip, and and all the technical issues, and hopefully in a couple weeks I'll be able to give you more information, and that will be in the newsletter. On Lydia's Book Club website, you can subscribe to the newsletter very easily. It's accessible for everyone. Right, but just bear in mind that if you want to be part of this trip, you have to become a member of the book club. Otherwise, you won't be able to take part in this English trip. Right. So, without further ado, we're going to start this podcast. I'm Lydie Bureau. I'm an English teacher in France for those who don't know me on this YouTube channel or on this podcast if you're listening on Spotify. I'm the founder of Lydie's Book Club, a book club for non-native English speakers who want to practice and improve their English through deep reading and conversation. So the way the book club works is very easy. We meet online once a month. So it's a book club that exists online and also in person in the region of Bordeaux in the southwest of France. So if you live around there, then I'll be happy to welcome you in the book club. And if not, you can join online, of course. We don't read the same book online and in person because we go with a different pace, but it doesn't matter really. And the idea is that the members of the book club, they pick the book that they want to read. We discuss together which one we want to read. And online, we meet once a month for about an hour and a half. But if you have other commitment, you can easily leave the conversation. I mean, this is not, you're not chained to the conversation. Whenever you need to go, you're free to leave, of course. And if you want to have a taster session, you will find all the dates in the newsletter. So if you want to try out the book club, then you have the dates in the newsletter and the link of the Zoom link of our conversation for to attend our conversation on Zoom. So it's very easy, and if you feel like it's something that you're able to commit and to be part of, then you just become a member on the website. You subscribe on the website. It's very easy. So that's the idea. And you don't read the book all on your own. We read parts of the book or chapters, a couple of chapters. So you have about a month to read, I don't know, 30 or 40 pages. And then we meet, we discuss in English about these pages that we've just read. We discuss vocabulary, expression, and also I correct your English, and we have fun. That's it. Um, and also, as a member of the book club, you get exclusive invitation of meet and greet with female authors that I will be hosting, and you'll have the chance to ask any questions that you might have to this author. And also, once you become a member, as I was mentioning earlier, you will be able to register for our upcoming English trip. Well, our trip to England in April. It will happen in April 2026. So make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter to have to be the first to know about the program and how to subscribe. And that's it. So in September, we have decided with the members of the book club that we will read this book, Lolly Willowes, by Sylvia Townsend Warner. So this is the story of a single woman in the years in the First World War, after the First World War, who lives in London, who leaves London. She leaves London to become a witch in spite of her family disapproval. So if you're into witches, witchcraft, but mainly if you're into women's stories, then this book is definitely for you. I'm going to do a second video on why you should read Lolly Willowes. Today, it's mainly a podcast about Sylvia Townsend Warner for you to get to know her and understand where she comes from, what's her mindset and the context of the writing of this book. So I hope this video will help you understand Sylvia Townsend Warner and also have a little idea or a better understanding of this book as well. So, Lolly Willowes is Townsend Warner's first novel, published in 1926. Her book was an immediate success during her lifetime, although she was rather disappointed by the readers' reactions because she felt that they didn't quite grasp the message of the book. And after decades of oblivion from the literary canon and the media, Townsend Warner's Townsend Warner's legacy has finally re-emerged and has been recognized as one of the most brilliant English writer of English literature, thanks to the work of the Sylvia Townsend Warner Society and the republication of her novels as part of Penguin Modern Classics collection, which is this one. There's this beautiful modern classics collection, and there is another one like this one well, it's bound, a smaller one. So you can see it's two edition. And we will be reading this edition. So in terms of, there are no chapters, so we will work with the pages. If you want to read the book with us, I advise you to buy this one. So now, that's all right with you, I would like to talk to you more about Sylvia Townsend Warner. So Sylvia Townsend Warner was born in 1893 at Harrow-on-the-Hill. So basically, it's in the north of London, on the outskirts of North London. She was an only child of Eleanor Huddleston and George Townsend Warner, a distinguished history teacher at Harrow School, which is a prestigious school in London. I don't know if you've heard of it, but if you live in London and if you're a teacher, you might know about this school. So for many years, George Townsend Warner, Sylvia's father, was associated with the prestigious Harrow History Prize, and this prize has been renamed Townsend Warner History Prize in his honor after his death in 1916. So that's just a little bit about her father. So Sylvia Townsend Warner never received any formal education. She was homeschooled by her father, who was already a history teacher, so that helps. And also by the members of the Harrow School, which provided her with a high education profile and a significant understanding of the world. So during this idyllic childhood in the country, because now Harrow-on-the-Hill is part of London, it's very urban, but at the time you have to imagine that it was very much the countryside. So during her childhood, Sylvia developed a keen interest in music and a strong imaginative freedom. So she was musically gifted and had initially planned to study composition in Vienna. But when the First World War broke out, she then decided to move to London instead. And there she worked in a munitions factory and helped organize aid for Belgian refugees. In 1916, she was strongly affected by the death of her father. Similarly to her heroine, Laura Willowes, Lolly is a nickname. So Lolly Willowes is actually the name of the woman, of the main character in the story, but originally she's called Laura Willowes. Lolly is a nickname. So similarly to her heroine, Laura Willowes also loses her father at the very beginning of the story, and she's deeply affected as well by the story. So you can see the parallel between the author real story and her character. And yeah, there are also other similarities, but here is a very important one, especially that it's at the beginning. It's an important part of the beginning of the book. So the death of her father and the end of the war propelled her into an independent life as a scholar of music. So before writing, she was into music. So it's interesting to know that writing wasn't the main drive of her life at first. So she specialized in Tudor church music, so very specific. So for 10 years, she was the only female member of the editorial committee of the Carnegie UK Trust Church Music Project. And during this period, she met a musician, Percy Carter Buck, who was much older than her, and both had a secret relationship for 17 years, while he was himself married and had 5 children. So that's a little bit about her private life. So Warner's circle of friends consisted mostly of old Harrovian, so former students from Harrovian, who introduced her to members of the Bloomsbury Group, which is a publishing house, and a group of writers, basically, and artists, and to the novelist Theodore Francis Powys and Charles Prentice. So she lives in London, so she's surrounded by these educated and artistic people and writers. So Prentice was quickly impressed, and probably at this time she started writing her own poetry and stories as well. So Charles Prentice was quickly impressed by Sylvia's poetry, and he encouraged her to publish her first collection of poems called The Espalier, published in 1925, and the following year, her first novel, Lolly Willowes, in 1926. And as I was saying earlier, it was an immediate success. It tells the story of this, we could consider at the time, subversive story of this young woman who decides to leave London and turns into witchcraft to assert herself. So it's mixed with a little bit of fantasy, but also sharp wit from the author. And it's probably those reasons, one of the reasons why it was fresh and appealing for the post-war readers at the time. But in spite of this success, Sylvia was disappointed by the reader's reaction, who failed to see beyond the novel and understand the message intended. In one of her letters, she wrote to a friend, she said, she wrote, I felt as though I had tried to make a sword only to be told what a pretty pattern there was on the blade. So it's very beautiful image here, metaphor with the blade, with the sword, and the blade, yeah. With her disappointment of the fact that they just saw that the readers just saw the surface of the book, and how probably just seeing how beautifully written it was, and not seeing the feminist message behind it. Although the term feminist wasn't used at the time, now we recognize it. This book is recognized as a feminist, as with a feminist message. So, however, the success of this, well, yes, so thanks to the success actually of this book, of this first book, it encouraged her to become a full-time writer. So, after this novel, 2 more novels followed in the next 3 years, as well as a substantial collection of poetry, literary critics, and several novellas. So novellas, for those who are not familiar with this term, this is a short story, a little bit like this one. We could consider this book as a novella, because it's barely 260 pages. So It's between a short story and the length of the book is between the short story and a novel, which is usually around 300 pages or more. So during this busy and prolific period, she became the first ever Book of the Month Club choice in the US. And also, the book was shortlisted for the Prix Féminin, which is a French literary prize created by female journalists. So she also traveled to New York as a guest editor of the Herald Tribune, which was a New Yorker paper that doesn't exist anymore. So she, thanks to the success of this book, she receives a lot of writing opportunities um, as an editor for journals and magazines, and she kept on writing novels at the same time. So throughout her career as a writer, Sylvia Townsend Warner always remained independent and unpredictable in her choice of subject matter. So, for example, so we have this subject matter of this women who wants to free herself in Lolly Willowes. And now in 1927, so the following year, she wrote Mr. Fortune's Maggot, which was the story of a missionary who loses, which is the story of a missionary who loses his own faith. So that's interesting when you know that missionaries were sent to foreign countries or to colonize country um, to send the good message of God and Christianism. So it's that book must be a very interesting book to read and to see how she perceived this, how she describes this man. And in 1929, she wrote The True Heart, which is a 19th century retelling of the myth of Cupid and Psyche. So very different time frame, but also topics, as you can see. So as mentioned earlier, Sylvia was a great friend of Theodore Francis Powys and also a frequent visitor of his home in Dorset. In 1930, she decided to buy a cottage as a country residence at first, but soon after, she met the young poet Valentine Ackland, to whom she fell instantly in love with. The two women moved into Celia's cottage as a permanent home, and eventually in 1937, they moved out from this cottage to settle from Vauchurch, which is in the northwest of Dorset. So Valentine was only at the beginning of her career as a poet as well. She was a poet. And so when the two met. So in an attempt um, to give a little push to her beloved uh, partner, Sylvia and Valentine decided to publish a joint collection of poems called Whether a Dove or a Seagull in 1934. So you can see about 4 years after they met. So they wrote poems, but they did not signed them. So these poems were all mixed together and unattributed in the idea of not being misjudged. But the publication of this collection of poems in the end backfired because the readers didn't really understand the experiment, and they were more distracted by the revelation of these poems because they are very they both these poems expose their love for each other and their homosexual love. So that really unsettled the readers, and these illusion of lesbianism were very clear. And in the end, it didn't work out for the best of for them. Yeah. So in 1935, um, both became active members of the Communist Party. So they got involved in politics, these two women. They raised funds, they wrote party propaganda, which drew the attention of MI5. So for 20 years, they were under surveillance and considered as potential dangerous activists. So yeah, they it was serious, um, especially when you know that at the time this is the context of the yeah, of the well, the Cold War, we could say, as well, the premise of the Cold War, because you have the capitalism, Western liberalism of America, and on the other side, the Russian, with the emergence of communism and those ideas of equal share of the profits. But yes, so they got involved into politics and then traveled as well twice to Spain during the Civil War to fight against the growing threat of fascism. So they were very active in that sense as well. They went to, so first they went to Barcelona in 1936. So we hear at the very beginning of the Second World War to work with the Red Cross, and then again as delegates to the as delegates to the International, Writers' Conference in Madrid in 1937. So throughout the Second World War, she also became an active member in the local women's voluntary services, helping refugees from the Blitz in London, and also doing lectures on history, literature, and politics to the Workers' Education Association, the Labour Party, or the troops as well. So she was very involved in politics and also against the threat against fascism and the Nazism as well. In the late 1940s, she began to write an ambitious and innovative novel about life in a medieval Norfolk nunnery called The Corner That Held Them, which was published in 1948. So you can see there is a big gap between during the of about 10-ish years in which she didn't publish any novels, and that correlate with the Second World War events as well. So in 1948, she published this book, and then her last novel, The Flint Anchor, was published in 1954, which is a family saga, again set in Norfolk, in a Norfolk fiction town in the 1840s. And after that, she chose to focus on her work on short stories for the New Yorker, for whom she worked about 40 years until the end of her life. But she remained a fierce critic and editor as well, publishing countless studies and essays, including one about Jane Austen in 1951. And then she published an essay in 1950, in, in 1959, she published an essay called Women as Writers, in which she praises women for fighting against social convention meant to silence them. So we can see clearly her feminist involvement here and her feminist views. And in 1967, she was highly praised for her biography of T.H. White, which you can see here on the screen, which is a British novelist known for his fantasy novels. Now, on a more personal level, the years following the war were extremely painful for Sylvia. First, Valentine had an affair with an American writer. Then she decided to leave the Communist Party to become a Roman Catholic, which was a great shock, as you can imagine, for Sylvia. And however, the couple managed to overcome these troubled times, and they remained together until the end of Valentine's life. Because in 1969, Valentine died of breast cancer, leaving Sylvia utterly devastated. So throughout her illness, Sylvia was there for her, and until the end. And throughout her life, Valentine's poetry remained central to her. And eventually, she wrote a memoir towards the end of her life called For Sylvia, which was published posthumously in 1985. So even posthumously uh, to Sylvia's life as well, to Sylvia, because Sylvia died in 19. Um, I mentioned it earlier it was in the screen. She died in 1978, so a good 10 years later, a bit less than 10 years after. So, whoop. Um, so as a grieving process, Sylvia recorded her pain in unpublished poems and diaries. And in order to memorialize their relationship, she annotated 100 letters the two women had written to each other over the 39 years of relationship. So the letters were published posthumously as well in 1998 under the title I Stand By You, which constitute a rich and profound account of their love to each other. Um, so Sylvia's originality and gender and political involvement in communism and her unconventional life with another woman uh, for almost 40 years kept her, in a way, outside of the literary canon. And that's perhaps also one of the reasons why we've never much heard about her, because she was been cast aside in a way. And also the scope of her versatility of writings were probably too avant-garde for her contemporaries to acknowledge and also to appreciate. Nonetheless, in the last decade of Sylvia's life, a new generation of scholars and researchers revived interest in her work. Several of her novels got republished, as I mentioned earlier, and a more feminist perspective of her writing emerged, reestablishing her reputation amongst Britain's most unique and brilliant minds of the 20th century. The British writer and editor of the Guardian, Sarah Waters, describes her as one of the most shameful and underread great British authors of the past 100 years. So we have still a lot to do around her work, and this is probably one of the reasons why our member suggested this book, because she probably heard, I think she heard it, she heard about it in a podcast or in an article. Uh, and she suggested this book because I guess she's part of those forgotten writers, and I'm so glad that she suggested this book. So thank you, Kitty, for mentioning, for suggesting this new read, and also because I think that this is a good length. If you want to start reading English, this is actually a very good way. Although the writing is a little bit, can be a bit demanding, but it's short. Uh, so the type of the novellas that are quite a good format when you want to start reading in English, but you don't want to read adaptations. So um, this one is well, characterized as modern classics. So if you're not so much into classics, then maybe not this one for now. But if the topic of the book interests you, you're interested in female stories, and especially at the beginning of the 20th century, then have a go at it and join the book club. So if you want to know a bit more about Sylvia Townsend Warner, and maybe you're a student and you would like to dig in more about her, then I can suggest you these two books. So the first one by Claire Harman is a biography of Sylvia that came out first in 1990 and was republished with a new cover, more modern cover, in 2015. And it's probably the first biography on Sylvia Townsend Warner. And more recently, um, Rural Hours, this book, was published in 2024. So the author and researcher Harriet Baker uh, published this new kind of biography, because it's um, it's a biography of three women, basically, because so Baker is reflecting here in this book on the story of these three female writers, so Virginia Woolf, Sylvia Townsend Warner, and Rosamond Lehman, who each of them at a certain stage of their life and career, decided to move to the country to, in a way, reinvent themselves. And um, she draws parallels between these three women, which for Virginia Woolf and Sylvia Townsend Warner, these two women were contemporary to each other. They knew about each other, but they weren't intimate friends. That's a shame, because I'm sure they would have been great friends. But Virginia Woolf was 10 years older than Sylvia. But anyway, maybe it would have been great for these two to be friends. Anyway, so this is it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you want to join the book club, then subscribe here. Subscribe to the newsletter when you go to Legis Book Club. This is an image of the book club, so you can see here to subscribe, how to subscribe to the newsletter, and attend our book club taster session. So one will be happening at the end of September, on the 27th of September. It's going to be on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. We have our book club sessions usually on Saturday morning with a fresh mind. So I hope that you'll be able to have Central European time, of course. So I hope that you will be able to make this time, yeah, to be available for this book conversation, this taster session. Thank you so much again for listening, and I hope that it helped you get a better understanding of who Sylvia Townsend Warner was. And if you like this content, please subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, or follow the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. I'll be happy to have more listeners, of course. And if you have any comments, of course, I'll be happy to read you. I wish you a beautiful rest of the day and happy reading. Bye.